Hello everyone, welcome to Sack Lunch News. Enjoy the show.
This portion of the video will cover Jimmy Carter's early life all the way up to his run for presidency in 1976.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is Sack Lunch News. Today's episode is part 2 of the history of the Democrat Party, covering Jimmy Carter. This is from Wikipedia. James Earl Carter, born October 1st, 1924, was the 39th president of the United States from 1977 to 1981. Also, the 76th governor of Georgia from 71 to 75, and Georgia State Senator from 1963 to 1975. He received the Nobel Prize in 2002 for his humanitarian work, has been known since the end of his first and only term as president as the worst president in U.S. history, until Barack Obama and current President Joe Biden has taken that title from him. However, who was Jimmy Carter before he was president, and what about his presidency was so bad he was considered the worst president in history? From millercenter.org, this covers before he was president. At age 10, Jimmy worked for his dad on the family peanut farm, stacking produce into wagons and selling it at market, and by age 13, he had saved enough money to buy 5 houses that was sold at rock-bottom prices due to the Great Depression, that he then rented to poor local families. He graduated high school valedictorian in 1942. Also in 1942, he studied at the Georgia Institute of Technology. And in 1943, he was admitted to the United States Naval Academy, where he graduated in the top 10% of his class in 1946. Jimmy's father, Earl, died of cancer in 1953, and Jimmy left the Navy, moved him and his wife back to Plains, Georgia, and took over the family farm. In 1955, Carter ran for his first seat in office on Sumter County Board of Education and won. In 1962, Carter ran for a seat in the Georgia State Senate. He lost the Democrat primary, but that was overturned when he proved widespread voter fraud by his opponent. In 1966, he finished third in the Democrat primary for governor of Georgia, which was won by Lester Maddox. In 1970, Carter won the governor's election with 49% of the votes, but during his campaign, the Atlanta Constitution called him an ignorant, racist, backwards, ultra-conservative, rednecked South Georgia peanut farmer. I kid you not. So in 1972, Carter watched his Democrat presidential candidate, George McGovern, lost to Richard Nixon. He then started work on his 1976 presidential election. And that was Jimmy Carter pretty much up until his run in 76 for the presidency. What could have ever happened to make him go down in history as the worst president ever? Well, the Miller Center's overview states that Carter's one-term presidency is remembered for the events that overwhelmed it: inflation, energy crisis, war in Afghanistan, and hostages in Iran. After one term, voters strongly rejected Carter, even though some said he was steady, courageous, and idealistic, and voted in favor of Ronald Reagan in the next presidential election.
This part of the video will cover the ups and downs of the Carter presidency.
The Carter Presidency from Britannica.com. In the 1976 election, Jimmy Carter beat Gerald Ford 297 electoral votes to 240. Ford took over in 1974 after Richard Nixon resigned due to the Watergate scandal. Jimmy Carter and Vice President Walter F. Mondale took office January 20th, 1977. Now, I'm going to admit I don't go into super duper great detail on everything that happened throughout his presidency, but I do talk about some of the stuff and cover and at least say that something happened. Now, I will be covering at the end of this video the Barry Goldwater versus Jimmy Carter lawsuit, so that's going to be interesting. Early on, Carter introduced a dizzying array of ambitious social, administrative, and economic reform programs. He was met with opposition from the House and Senate, even though both were majority Democrat. His popularity had declined by 1978 due to his inability to convert his ideas into legislative reality. Now, 2 scandals also damaged Carter's credibility. The first in the summer of 1977, where Burt Lance, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, was accused of financial improprieties as a Georgia banker. Carter stood by his close friend, which caused many to question the president. Carter asked Lance to resign, who was later acquitted of all charges. In the summer of 1980, Carter's younger brother Billy was accused of acting as an influence peddler for the Libyan government of Muammar al-Gaddafi. The Senate investigators concluded Billy acted improperly, but had no real influence on the president. Now here's some accomplishments of his. In 1977, he obtained 2 treaties between the U.S. and Panama that gave the latter control of the canal at the end of 1999 and guaranteed the neutrality of that waterway thereafter. In 1978, Carter got Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin to agree to the Camp David Accord, which ended the war between the two that had gone on since Israel was founded in 1948. On January 1st, 1979, Carter established full diplomatic relations with China and broke ties with Taiwan. This is important because I will cover the Goldwater versus Carter lawsuit later, like I stated before. Also in 1979, Carter and Soviet Union leader Leonid Brezhnev signed SALT II. SALT is Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty. After the Soviet Union had invaded Afghanistan, he placed an embargo on U.S. grain to Russia. On November 4th, 1979, on top of that, the Iran hostage crisis took place. Also, at the same time, on the home front, the inflation rate climbed. It was 6% in 1976 to over a whopping 12% by 1980. Along with the failed mission to save the hostages in Iran, the people and businessmen blamed Carter for the economic and international woes, and he was voted out of office in the 1980 election.
And now, a quick overview of Goldwater versus Carter.
And now, Goldwater versus Carter, a brief overview from LexisNexis.com. A few members of Congress claim that the president's action in terminating the treaty with Taiwan deprived them of their constitutional role with respect to a change in supreme law of the land. They claim Senate approval was needed for the termination of any mutual defense treaty. So, the Supreme Court vacated the judgment and remanded the case to dismiss the complaint. They state, the judicial branch should not decide issues affecting the allocation of power between the president and Congress. Otherwise, the court would encourage small groups or individuals of Congress to seek judicial resolution to issues before the normal political process could resolve the issue. Do you agree with that? Let me know in the comments section. And as always, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.